Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome again to my audio-visual channel. My name is Gabriela Handal. I'm a draftsman and also the host of this show, A Conversation About Art. During each episode, I look for the meaning of art and beauty through conversations with colleagues in different artistic fields. Today, I bring you episode 90, and I will have this conversation with fellow artist John Darley. If you'd like to support my channel, liking and leaving a comment and sharing this video is incredibly helpful, and so is subscribing. These three are immediate and have no additional cost to you. If you'd like to support my channel with money, you can do so by purchasing my drawings directly from my website, by things I make on eBay, buying prints of my drawings, or leaving me a tip. These are all quite helpful in keeping these podcasts and my artistic work going. The links for all of them will be in the show notes. Thank you very much for watching. And now, John Darley, welcome to my podcast, A Conversation About Art. Again, your episode 90, which is pretty cool. Please tell our listeners and viewers who you are and what you do. Yes.
Yes, I'm John Darley. I'm a painter. I paint primarily the figure and the human subject. I do lots of portraits and I do lots of narrative paintings. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to do it. It's really cool. I sell my work mostly through private commission, but through galleries as well. And I teach. I do some as well at UVU and through my studio.
Okay. Okay, so you make paintings and you sell them. You said you sell commissioned work and you sell your work via galleries, and then you also teach out of your studio and at a school.
Yeah,
right?
through Utah Valley University. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's lovely. So do you consider the combination of these things to be indeed living off your artistic work?
Yeah. I live off the money I make. My wife, she has a job that's pretty lightweight and flexible because we have young children. So it's a good situation, but it's not, it could just be me if we needed to. But again, as you probably know, with the life of an artist, it's, even if you have, your year or 2 years set, you just never know when the gig's going to be up,
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
So that does give some peace of mind. And I'm just so grateful that, we're able to do this. I mean, it's just, I keep on pinching myself that it's crazy that, I'm able to explore, the natural world and ideas and subjects and people and things and just have something you can sink your teeth into, hopefully I hope for the rest of my life. I mean, it's just a fantastic profession. I'm really grateful that my wife and we made that leap, years, well, it's been 11, 12 years, 10 years.
Would you remind me what your wife does, please?
So she does, well, she's incredibly intelligent. So she kind of does everything because she can learn really, really fast. She's done events, event planning. Early on in our marriage, we would go and do, I think we did the VIP lounge for Steve Aoki, like at some rave, out in Salt Palace. And we just help events for a company that she worked for years ago that eventually got purchased by events.com. And then she worked in language learning systems like AI in terms of,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, in terms of a machine having a conversation with a person in a way that you don't know that it's a machine. It's actually there's a lot of stuff out there. And she was a project manager doing that for some time. And now she does some assistant work for my brother-in-law. And it's flexible. It's a flexible schedule where it's, turn on, turn off type of thing. and her assistant work, you know, is just really whatever they need, whether it be like, you know, accounting stuff or, you know, website, you know, laying out a website. She's, you know, she's just incredibly brilliant. And so she's useful to lots and lots of people.
I'll bet. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I guess the subject is a little bit kind of, I mean, in general, kind of unrelated, but I think it's cool that you're kind of focused in art, and she does what I recently learned is actually called switch tasking. Because multitasking doesn't exist. Because multitasking insinuates that you're doing several things at the same time, and one does not. Nobody operates that way. Because it's physically impossible to do so, but one can switch from one thing to another throughout the day, and that is a female typical thing because, you know, women are the mothers, the home administrators, so typically, you know, of course that's not the case for everyone, but on average that is the case. And so then we're very adept at doing a little thing and then another thing and then another thing, and so like it really lends itself. It's like if you're a mom or if you're a home housewife, you have to do that. That's what you have to do. So then it's a really great balance with the male typical capability of like hyper focusing on one thing. It's like a really good balance. It's such a good, I don't know. I'm only learning this stuff recently, like in the last 5 years or something, a little bit more maybe. And I'm just like, wow, I wish I would have known this way long ago. But anyway, whatever. Let's get back to talking about.
Wait, no. Well, yes, let's talk about art. But I do think that's super interesting because, I mean, as soon as, do you have any kids?
I don't. Well, we don't have kids. We don't know if we're going to do that, but we don't have for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've ever done by far.
That's what I hear.
But it forces you to like sink or swim, right? Where you have to switch tasks. You have to use way less time than you're usually comfortable using. And also, you know, I guess everyone's different, but I feel like it makes you better or want to be better because you know, you look at them sleeping at night and you're like, can't be scrolling on Instagram for an hour right now. You know, I got, you know, that's an hour killed, and I'm going to be grumpy if I'm up too late, you know? So, you know, I think that switch tasking idea is, if there's listeners right now who are parents, they're just like, oh yeah, just like, I get it for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, and even if you don't have kids, I mean, like I paint, I paint throughout the day, but I also teach, you know, a figure drawing class and 2 portrait drawing classes, 1 out of my studio and 2 at the university. And they kind of become these people you care about and want to see successful. And it requires me to be very, like, switch my time a lot or switch my mind quite often. So, I mean, I don't know how many out there have the luxury of just focusing on one thing as much. I mean, it gets, if you haven't gotten to that switch, what would you call it again? Switch task?
Switch task. Yeah. Instead of multitask, it's switch tasking.
Yeah. Yeah. If you haven't, if you don't know what we're talking about, you will.
Yeah, you will. Okay. So, all right. Well, I guess you yourself kind of went back to your own artistic endeavors. So you said you oil paint, right? Your work is oil paintings?
Yeah, so I do oil painting, and for the last almost 2 years now, I do a lot of egg tempera, which I really enjoy. Yeah, and I draw.
Okay, so you arguably work in 3 mediums: drawing, egg tempera, and oil painting. Why do you choose those 3? Or you know, those 3 chose you, however you want to see it?
Well, that's a great question. I would say the first 2, drawing and oil painting, was just because that's what my mentors used, right?
Yeah.
And it was just a means to, have this vision of something I wanted to make that's kind of a little hazy, and just see it come into reality. And then the egg tempura one, though, was just because, I don't know, maybe you do this, but like, I remember I was like sitting in my studio, just thinking about all the things I don't like about my work.
You don't like about your work?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got to be critical about their.
Sure.
I'm not going to be talking negatively or having the spirit of Eeyore around a collector. That's just
right.
Bad. But inside, I'm always critiquing my work and always thinking about how I want to get better. And I think that's important to just move the needle.
Oh, for sure.
But I was sitting and I was just looking at my work. I was like, and then I was looking at Andrew Wyeth, right? Like probably one of the most prominent egg tempura painters. And he adds just so many elements in his work that I wanted. Mm-hmm. I was almost kind of like lusting after a little bit. And I remember one of my a show I was in when I was in New York, at Cavalier Gallery, mm-hmm. I don't think it was Andrew Wyeth, maybe it was his son, Jamie or something, but he had a painting in the gallery, and I remember walking by it, and I can't remember if it was egg tempura, but it just had this, it might have been just the way, maybe watercolor was, or gouache or something, but there was something about how he was approaching it that really struck me as different. Like it left me scratching my head. And so I started reading about it, and I started playing around with it, just experimenting. And what I really loved about it was how quickly it dries. And a lot of people have this negative view of it because it dries so fast. But the way I work, I really like the layered effect that it can give to my work. And it's what I'm doing with oil paint anyways, except oil paint, a couple days to dry. So for me, it actually ironically ended up making my painting process somewhat faster, because I was waiting for all these layers to dry as long. And it's just a brilliant medium. And so I really enjoy that. And then drawing and oil painting, I mean, obviously they're amazing. A lot of people, a lot of paintings can attest to that. But yeah, so those are three mediums. I'd like to get into sculpture once my kids are a little bit older, and ideally we have more funds to play around with. I'd like to tackle that, but that's yet.
Okay, so since you saw the Wyeth painting that was in egg tempera, I mean, I figure it's been a few years, and you've been doing it for a few years. Have you like deciphered what it was about the egg tempera, the way that it looks or whatever, that caught your attention? Like, how does it look different from oil painting? Because I mean, I don't know if I'd be able to tell the difference between an oil painting and an acrylic painting, for example. I don't know. Like if I had one right next to one of each, right next to each other, maybe I would be able to, because I have the impression that because of the oils and the things that one uses for oil paintings tend to usually be really warm and kind of like yellow colored. And then I have the impression that acrylic paintings are just look more saturated. I don't know. I'm practically speculating because just making assumptions here. So yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Egg tempura seems to be more of a linear medium. Has
like in a gouache sort of way?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And when it's dry, it's more muted. It has kind of this dreamlike feel to it that at this stage in my life, for whatever reason, is very appealing to me. So I enjoy the linear quality to it. It feels like I just have more options. I still do a lot of the same things when I paint with oils, but it's just I have to. It's like fighting. It's like fighting it's like jujitsu as opposed to like Greco-Roman wrestling, right? It's like you kind of do whatever you have to, but there's some different rules and there's different techniques. But I right now I'm into it and plan on continuing with it as long as it's fulfilling like my end result of the vision I have and seeing it come into reality. And as soon as it stops doing that, I'll try something else.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But okay, so then when you say muted, does that mean the color is somehow less saturated with egg tempera when it dries?
When it dries, it has almost like an eggshell quality to it once it's all dried. I don't varnish my egg tempera paintings because I like that quality. And yeah, so if you ever if you look at Andrew Wyeth's work, I mean, there's tons of color, but it does feel like there's a bit of a dream there that I think is really phenomenal.
Okay. Okay, so I'm also curious about you having used the term narrative painting earlier because we're visual humans. The organs of vision occupy a ton of space in our brain, so I kind of feel as though any image is narrative almost by default, just because if you paint like a pen, for example, and you do one of those like trompe-l'oeil paintings where like the pen is like just like coming out of the painting or whatever you want, it's like, all right, I will immediately kind of start making assumptions about what is happening in the painting. It's like, oh, it's a writer or somebody's journal or a diary or this episode. So it's like, I just feel like the narrative behind any kind of image can be easily produced by the viewer. So then I guess I wonder, why do you think that the category of narrative painting exists? And I guess I also wonder why you use the term specifically to describe your work.
Well, I mean, that's a great statement. And I think I used the distinction between the two because more so because there's a lot of people who are, kind of have their feet in the art world. And sometimes the distinction is helpful for saying, hey, like, for example, I'll do portrait commissions, right? And I feel like there's a narrative there. And when I look at that person, I'm, first of all, before I start the painting, I'm asking them questions. I'm asking their spouse or siblings or whoever knows them questions about them. Then I'm talking with them for a very long time. I have a narrative in my mind about that person. But most people just on the surface level just can't see that, even though I see it. They'll say, oh, this is, if we're going to group this into a category, this is portrait, right? Whereas when there's something that's not a specific person or it's multiple people, there's a thing going on. Some people are like, okay, what are we looking at here? It's narrative, right? Whereas you're correct in that, a lot of artists are not thinking about the distinction that way. But perhaps people who aren't as familiar with the art world or are just getting their feet wet might think of it that way and group it, give some separation. So I say that really to just give some clarity, but in reality, yeah, it's all narrative at the end of the day. Yes.
Okay. Well, that makes me feel good. Okay, but then okay, so then I guess from the point of view of somebody who does think that there is a specific distinction between a painting and a narrative painting, then I think, you can tell me what you think about this, because for example, maybe one could argue that a Vanitas painting this type of stuff where maybe it's not just the pen, but then there's also like a Bible and like a notepad and a skull, for example. And it's like, oh, this guy is taking notes about I don't know, wherever there's death in the Bible or something, because they're very concerned about this because they know they're going to die. So then I guess, to kind of argue against my own point in a way, there could be situations, images rather, like paintings, in which there's a more obvious narrative than another. Like if you have just the pen and a neutral background versus the pen with the notepad, the Bible, and the skull, like, one is definitely more conducive to kind of building, because there's more elements now. I mean, I don't know, what do you think about that? Like, I'm not that super knowledgeable about categories of painting either, so I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could split hairs forever if you want.
Sure.
Right? I mean, if you look at, I've gone to like some art archive websites before, and you look at, you see the options of like categories of art. Mm-hmm. Some of them have like maybe 100, 200 categories where it's things that you never really heard of, right? Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, I'm not sure if it's completely necessary, but then again, I do think it might be necessary, because when I think about the work that I do, and then people will be like, it would be confusing to clump it together with like some, super contemporary, like blue chip art, where I'm not entirely sure what the purchase, the person who purchased the painting is like, what they're seeing in the value of it, like why they think it's valuable. Mm-hmm. Like it might be, again, with the fighting analogy, there just might be different rules, mm-hmm. That they're going by, or but at the end of the day, I mean, aren't we all just making up our own rules a little bit here and there? I think I definitely think when I have a painting and I have like, there's like a thing, there's an objective, and sometimes I might be feeling a certain way that, I'm like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna use some optical mixing with this color, or maybe we get some linear marks to show some form. Like, I'm playing my own game a little bit, where I'm like setting the rules and I'm going after it. Mm-hmm. And that usually will get me excited, and then shows through in the painting. But, so I don't know about the distinctions or why we make them. Sometimes it's helpful, but maybe at the end of the day, it's a little arbitrary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. It makes me think, especially when you were talking about how if you go to a art archive, there's like hundreds of categories of paintings. It reminds me a little bit, because I don't really know why we will get fixated on something sometimes. I don't know why. I don't know how that works. But it reminds me a little bit of how we think of the body in a way. Like if you're studying anatomy, it's like, oh, the muscular system, and each muscle category, separated into, whether like the type of fiber or whatever, or it's like, the skeletal system, and then like the nervous system, and then the digestive system. And because we're fixated on that in terms, like every field that you can think of is fixated on it. It's like, that's how they're going to teach it to you. At least in art, it's going to be like, muscle versus bone. And in, for the medical thing, is going to be like, all of the systems say you have the specialists for everything. And when you go to the doctor, you're going to go to the one doctor for the one thing, and then for the, and at the same time, it's like, that the body is one, right? So then there's like this, it's like, of course it's a valid way of studying the different things, but then I think we're missing in general the part where we remember that it's a one unit, and that all of those things are interacting together, and they're you could also like, again, be like, there's really no separation between one and the other.
Sure.
And it's, I think, and well, I guess this is a little tangential in a way. I just feel like that's a big flaw and a big problem in like the medical system, for example. That's a problem. Because we have the tendency of thinking that one issue is not related to another issue, and it could be, you know. But anyway, yeah, and yeah, in art for sure, because definitely applicable in art for sure, I think, although I haven't thought about it very much. But I guess with what you were saying, that there's, in some occasions, there's so many categories for things that it's like, you know, it doesn't have to be that complicated, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
it might be more straightforward than that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it can be whatever you want it to be, somewhat. You know,
Indeed.
I'm no expert in the categories of art. My art history is vague.
Same.
For me, I just thing that's a bit of fiction, and it's just an itch that I've always wanted to scratch, and I'm grateful that people allow me to scratch it, you know, and
Constantly, yeah.
and it's just also a means by which I, in my life, you know, in the short time I have on this planet, can just learn and grow, you know. I don't know if it necessarily matters what that is, but for whatever reason, I find myself in this situation where this is the medium by which I expand myself and my mind, and able to grow as a person. So for me, that's what it is. You know, I'm not really, you know, I'm not really heavy in philosophy about what, what's good art, what's bad art, as much as it is just this instinctual thing where I'm just following my goosebumps, what I like, and it's just like a tick. It's just, you know, I just have to do it. And if it wasn't this, I'd probably find something else that's like it, that engages with that, whatever part of my brain that really stimulates me. And I, you know, as an artist, you try to harness that in a way that is valuable to yourself and to others, and so that you can, you know, contribute to society, right? help out the best you can, I guess.
Okay, so I guess in order to get you to elaborate even more on that, Mr. Darley, what is art in your opinion?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. That was one of the questions.
Yes.
Yeah, art. That's a really good question. You sent me that email. I thought about that. I was thinking about it. But art. Well, there's two questions you had, didn't you? What was art and what was beauty?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Art, for me, is exactly what I said, you know, just a means by which I'm able to investigate the world. And it's a little bit of a shout in the wind, you know. We aren't going to be alive very long, and neither, in the grand scheme of things, probably neither will our paintings or our artwork that we make. You know, eventually the planet, I mean, the sun will go out, right? Like maybe something like some sci-fi scenario happens like that, but there's a good chance that these paintings I make after, you know, whatever amount of time is are going to disintegrate. But it is an act in which my spirit's just trying to embody something I want to investigate, and more often something I want to say without saying it. You know, there's a lot of things that I think about and feel that I don't say, and it's, you know, and I talk too much when I'm around people. I annoy myself, but when it comes to things that are actually important and really matter, I'm strangely
very cagey and private about it. And painting for me is a way to say that to the world, that like, I was here, right? And this is something I'm thinking about, and this matters to me, and this person was here, and this person matters, and this is who I see them to be. And so I guess to wrap all of that up, art is a shout in the wind, right? From cave paintings to now, we're trying to communicate, and it's a way for me to communicate.
Why do you specifically use the expression "a shout in the wind"? I mean, is that like a message in a bottle in the sea, where you like send it with the hopes of somebody finding it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had an experience. I had an experience once where, I'm not very good at writing papers on why I paint paintings. And it's specifically because it's forcing, well, it depends on the painting. Not all paintings are the same, but on the ones that matter to me on a personal level, I guess that, well, again, I'm contradicting myself. Sometimes you have collectors, or you have a gallery or a museum, and they really want you to elaborate on why you made something. And I don't like doing that, though I'm finding myself being forced to do that for career purposes, because it seems to make a difference. Who I have to appease in order to keep my addiction going. And so I'm getting better at it, but I wish I didn't have to, because it really is just that. Like, I prefer to share something without laying it out and saying, actually, here's a good example. I had a professor, I was at a show recently, and this professor, he was like, had some super contemporary painting, and it was like it was like garbage. It was like trash, like right next to one of my paintings. And it was like odd, because again, with the distinctions of art, right? Like, I was like, I don't know what to say, like cool, like kind of interesting, like I don't, but he came to me and he's like, I think he was like trying to it felt to me like he was trying to pick a bit of a fight, where he's like, he comes up to me, he's like, it's all about concept, in this day and age where everything's just ran by machines, craft is dead. It's all about concept. And I was maybe like 5 years ago, I would have taken the bait, but I was just like, dude, just following the goosebumps, I don't know, maybe you're right. I don't know. But if I was honest with myself, what I would say to that was, yeah, man, but like, if you're the same artist and, you have an idea, you have something you want to say, you have a concept, as you say, right? And you express that like well, or you express it poorly, or express it with bad craftsmanship or with good craftsmanship. Exact same concept, exact same thing you're trying to say, which one's more valuable? And I would say, obviously, like the one that's articulated better. And I thought it was just so weird that he would say that. Or what's even the purpose of making something visual? Why don't you just write your concept?
Right.
Like, and just put it on the wall so we can read that and be impressed by your concept. I mean, that's what writing is. So, well, maybe there's some writers that are going to get mad for some reason. I think. But it's trying an idea that's expressed and shown really well. Or, okay, here it is. um, show, don't tell, right? It's like people who brag about themselves as opposed to people who you just like don't really say anything, and you just see that they're competent or impressive in however ways someone who's bragging about themselves might try to show, right? It's like, it's really cool to see. And the reason why too is because words can lie, and they aren't always perfect. And you can take like a visual gulp of something or of someone in a moment, and you can learn a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of things that you can't express verbally, or at least I can't. There's a lot of people who are a lot more articulate than me, so maybe they could, but I know it, right? And I feel it, and it informs my decisions and my intuition about the person or the thing or whatever. And so I appreciate the medium because of that, how there is a way to communicate to the spirit that kind of like music, music communicates in a way that, reading a paper or somebody speaking doesn't necessarily communicate. And I appreciate my ability to be able to communicate not only to somebody who I'm directly talking to, or somebody who might be reading something, but somebody who can see that, and hopefully in a split second, or maybe not, maybe years down the road can catch my drift, if you will, I guess. Mm-hmm. And hopefully even after I die, if people, if people care, mm-hmm. That's they will, but you never know.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, I like that a lot. I personally do value putting in the effort of trying to say things with words, because I like the English language and I like words, and I think it's cool how many there are, and some of them are so strange and all this stuff, but I am also heavily inclined to agree with especially the show don't tell part, because that is, of course, also a skill. Because, if you're going to say something, there's also saying it accurately versus saying it in a stupid, shitty way, right? So then if you're going to show something, there's, of course, showing it in a skilled, thoughtful, accurate way versus saying it in a slovenly way, like mm-hmm. thoughtless, sloppy sort of way. Yeah. And I definitely, because that's what you meant, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And that's kind of funny. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm getting better at using words to describe my work part, and I do see the value. But my initial impression, or my initial desire when I first pursued painting, was to say these things, or that I'm discovering, or I'm feeling, or I'm thinking about, with varying degrees of personal importance, without saying them. I appreciated that, but I think you're right. I think there are quite a few people who do benefit from reading about something. I begrudgingly admit.
That's funny. Yeah, no, I guess I personally want to have the capacity of doing so, or thinking about these things, not just my own work, but art in general and beauty, as we're going to talk in a little bit. And I am a little bit skeptical of other individuals who practically refuse to do so, because I don't know if you know, but like David Lynch, for example, he refuses to talk about his work. And I'm just like, why do you do that? And it's like, the reason for which I'm skeptical is because when I was younger and just kind of starting to discover whatever it was, I was like, oh no, it's, I like the mystery of it. I don't know. This type. So I was just like making excuses because I didn't want to sit down and think. So, that's just my case, obviously. I didn't want to sit down and think about it, or it was just requiring all of this effort that is not effort of one day. It takes a while to kind of be able to put things together, like, again, accurately, so that it does justice to what I'm trying to show, so that the tell part does justice to the show part,
Yeah.
And then it's definitely not easy, especially because I think the show part came before the tell part, like historically. I'm reading The Art Instinct. I have been saying that, I don't know how many episodes now, because I've been reading it for months and months. The book is called The Art Instinct, and we haven't talked this way the entire time. We used to not make other sounds. I don't know how we used to talk, but it was not this way. That there are so many languages informing themselves, and language keeps developing and changing or whatever. And what do you have before language? You have eyeballs, and you have pointing at things and making hand gestures, like this type of stuff. It's a little bit of a speculation there, but there's something of that sort in the book, that we had to start with this visual stuff before being able to get it to words the way that we do now, that it has also kind of branched into writing and computer language and coding and this type of stuff, where it of course it's useful and everything. But yes, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, that's why I'm skeptical. Are you still here? Yes. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Popped.
I dropped and then popped, but I got a ton of what you just said.
Okay.
In that, we didn't always speak this way.
Yes.
Was the gist of where we left off.
Yes.
Or I left off, since I dropped off.
Yes. Okay. No, that seems right. Okay.
Here.
So
Is it?
Yeah, it's a little bit skippy.
Is it a little bit what?
It was a little bit skippy, but I think it's a little better now.
Okay. If I need to, I can try to go get closer to my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no, it's back to normal now. Okay. All right. So, Mr. Darley, what is beauty in your opinion?
Well, it's great that you asked that, because I was thinking about art, and you were just talking about, we were talking about writing papers, and you were saying, like, David Lynch, how he just doesn't talk about his work, and you're thinking, like, when you're younger, maybe there's an excuse that you could do to be like, to hide the fact that you might not be thinking very hard about it.
Yeah.
Thing like that. And I think that's a great point, because I was thinking about what beauty is, and I think if I were to describe what beauty is, I think beauty is intelligence. And I say that in a very literal way. Like I've seen people, maybe you can relate to this, but I've seen people who, I've seen them speak, I've seen them interact, I see attributes about them, and maybe in a creepy manner, like people watch a bit too much, but where I see just complete and total intelligence, light, behind them and what they're doing. Or I'll look at myself when I've done something very mentally rigorous, or something, or I've done something base and wrong, maybe more appealing to like my natural, and I'll see the difference on how I look at myself, and I'll see beauty attached to that intelligence, right? And maybe even a better example would be somebody who's fitting all the standards of like conventional beauty, whether it's like the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever's in, Baroque, whatever, is the standard of beauty at that period. Yet, like, I won't see beauty. Where, or on the flip side, somebody who might be sick or old or harmed, or but there's such a light that you can see in their eyes and in their face, and that's just gorgeous. And away from the human subject, but just to the planet, right? Like I'll look at the sunrise and the sunset and the seasons and the flowers that bloom, and how there's just this beautiful, unbelievable system in motion, operating. And I personally believe that there's intelligence behind it, and that there's this, and the thing that's so weird to me is that the older I get, the more impressive it seems to me.
Mm.
Whereas like when I was younger, like a little boy, like I just didn't think about it as much or notice it. And it didn't make as much of an impact. But the older I get, the more stunning it is to me. And I would say because of that feeling I have towards that, what seems to be intelligence and what I believe is intelligence. And I would say that that's beautiful. Also life, right?
Mm.
I mean, obviously we're all going to die, but I if you think that's the end of life, I don't. But things that bring about life, right? So I would say intelligence and life seem to be what's beautiful to me. And I say life too. I look at my little boys, and they're learning everything for the first time. So you see these like little gears going,
Mm-hmm.
and you can like watch the data collection of
Yeah.
the world around them, and it's just so beautiful. And I guess maybe that's connected with intelligence as well, what I was just saying. But and when to apply that to paintings, like one thing I just love about art and art making is how, at least I think I can, maybe sometimes you're wrong, but it seems evident on a piece when you can see when somebody's being lazy,
Mm-hmm.
or when somebody's really working hard, or when somebody's taking shortcuts, or trying to, or isn't as experienced, but they're really trying to express something, and they really have like intent. Like Van Gogh might be one, where I think that might be
That's a good example.
Yeah, right. Like you can see that stuff if you're looking, and so that intelligence and that work, that labor, I think, is what makes a painting beautiful often.
Mm. Okay. I'm curious about your use of specifically of the term intelligence, because intelligence isn't just smart,
Yeah.
Maybe it has a little bit of wisdom in it somehow,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does that seem right? Why do you use that term specifically? I am inclined to agree with you, but why do you use that term?
Well, because there's things. Okay, so I can so I think, to illustrate what I'm talking about, like we can think of the opposite, right? Which is, let's say, bass, or like I remember being a teenager and just like being lazy, right? Wanting to just like play video games or something dumb, right? And I just remember like looking at myself and being like, I'm ugly. Like I look, even though my appearance was exactly the same. Whereas, or if you to take it away from me, or you go to, or if you're like around a group of people, like let's say like maybe like like a crowd of criminals, right? Like a crime house or something. You know, I would assume, depending on what the crime is, you know, you go in there and you feel, you're like, like, you know, it feels ugly.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a thing you want to get away from. And so I don't like that stuff. Like, and I, you know, I'm not going to like lay out what is and isn't, but I think you know it when you see it and you can feel it. And I think intelligence appeals to our higher nature. You know, I mean, we're part of this earth, right? But there's something, you know, distinctly different between humans and a lot of the other life forms here. Like, I mean, there's some animals that use tools and stuff, but we are very unique. Like, what is that? Like, I don't like, right? I mean, and I think there's something beautiful in seeing people or things that are made exerting their full capacities or being the best they can be, whether that's a work of art or an individual, or, you know, you go to New York and you see those giant buildings and you're like, holy crap, like, this is unreal. So maybe that's vague. I hope not, but I hope your listeners and you yourself can catch my drift on what is and isn't.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it makes me think of, it reminds me a little bit of these lectures that I've been listening to by Dr. Jordan Peterson, where he talks about the psychological significance of the Bible stories. They're really good. And I mean, I'm not, you know, I mean, I was raised Catholic and everything, but I'm not anymore, you know, like I don't believe in God, this type of stuff. But there is so much value. So, I mean, it's like that guy has done more for the Catholic religion, Christian religion, than anyone in a really good way. Because, you know, like in the sense that, I mean, I don't know, it has, he has argued very strongly for the value of the stories in the Bible, because, you know, the argument and you know, maybe it's like a comparison, like a parallel to what you're saying. It's like there's the base argument that it's like, oh, the Bible contradicts itself, that story makes no sense, how did he do that? Versus the, oh my god, the super hyper philosophical, that it's like so out there that you just can't fucking make any sense of it. Okay. And then there's the actual story, that the story, like, then there's the actual lesson that the story might be trying to tell you, which is valuable and which works. And, you know, maybe it's intelligent, the story is intelligent, like the way that you're saying, in the sense that it's actionable for everyone's life, whether you believe in the Christian religion or not. It's like, it's helpful and useful for anyone. Okay. So an example that I think is really good is the story of Cain and Abel, in that sense, because it's not just of, you know, if fratricide is bad, of course, murdering people because you're whatever is bad. Murdering people is bad, but Cain became resentful because he was being lazy with his sacrifice.
Yeah.
So God was like, you know that your sacrifice is kind of shitty, right? You're being lazy. And so he's like, so Abel is the God's pet, you know, whatever. And so like, there's something like that, you know? So he was being resentful. So then he goes and kills God's favorite. And so the point, one of the points of the story is, first of all, don't be resentful. Don't be a little shit like that. Okay. And second of all, give your best.
Yeah.
You know, give your best. And the wording, I like Jordan Peterson's wording, although I'm working to kind of paraphrase it myself to exercise my brain. But the words that he uses is that you sacrifice you give your best in the present, you sacrifice in the present in order to bargain with the future.
Sure.
To negotiate with the future.
Yeah.
You know, so then that is, it's like, yeah, stop looking at the Instagram and go paint.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
stop, right? So like, stop being like, oh my God, look, these people are so productive, I should be painting. It's like, yeah, you should be painting. Stop looking at the Instagram. Go
Yeah.
paint, you know?
Yeah.
So then it's like that information being in that story, and it's old, okay? Because, and that's the other thing. Those stories are not, I mean, you know, like Christian religion is like arguably 2000 years, 2023 years old, right? Those stories are not new. They're not new. So like, we have been telling ourselves, humans, telling humans these stories in some capacity, in similar stories, similar types of stories forever, right? So like, I think that is the intelligence that you're talking about, and it's good. It's good stuff.
It almost feels like gravity, or or yeah, gravity would be example. It just seems like just a natural law that whether or not you're like, you know, describe yourself as Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, atheist, whatever. It seems like if you adhere to it, there seems to be like the results, you know, that follow, that that can get plugged in terms of like what you're talking about with Cain and Abel, like do your best, right? You know, things that like when I hear people and they're like, oh, just be a good person. Like, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Just be a good person, you know? But I think there's these laws that are like spiritual, but maybe not even that's a great word to describe it, as just like natural, like part of the earth, that can get wrapped up into like, you know, what we, you know, into morality, but also just into what seems to work, right? What seems to not. And to your point, like, you know, people have been telling those stories for thousands of years. I mean, why? Because they want their kids to be happy. They want them to be successful. They want them to not make the same stupid choices they might have made, right? So that they're able to, you know, do well because they love them, right? And I think that wraps into paintings as well, in that, like your mind and what you're doing behind it, and whether or not you're doing your best, right? I think it can be seen visually, and I wouldn't say that that's necessarily like some like really well academically crafted painting all the time. Like I've seen paintings that aren't that way, that for whatever reason speak to me. But I think the artists, they themselves know, like, you know, whether or not you're doing your best, you know, whether or not you're cutting corners or slacking, or whether or not you're just trying to BS people, you know. And you might be able to like get away with it for a little bit, but it doesn't last. And unless you are like really just opening yourself up, no matter what your skill level is, or no matter what your education is, but as long as you're opening yourself up and really just, like I said before, like shouting in the wind, just like painting yourself blue, like Braveheart, and just freedom, you know, just going and really just letting have it, like giving yourself all to the painting and all to what you're doing. Like that's a method for perpetual interest, and I think ultimately success, to many different levels.
Yes. Okay. I like that a lot. And I think it's perfect to end the episode with that, Mr. Darley, because we have broken the 55-minute mark of our conversation. So why don't you tell our future listeners and viewers where your work can be found, if you want to add anything, do you have any projects coming up that you're excited about?
Sure. Yeah. So you can obviously, you know, there's social media, John Darley Fine Art. There's my website, johndarley.com. I have some work in Collins Gallery and Rick Michelle Gallery in Southampton. And I I do have some big projects going on. I've been doing some teaching, but I have a large scale multi-figure painting that I'm very excited about, which I just got the first deposit to make that happen.
Nice.
I'm going to be, my ultimate goal is I want to do large scale multi-figure work, and I want to tell stories that really, really matter to me. And I'm going to try to do whatever I can to make that happen. And so my smaller paintings are probably going to be decreasing in the next year. I'm going to be chipping away on some larger ones. And if you like my work, and if you want to collaborate with me about making something beautiful, just shoot me an email at johndarley801@gmail.com, or just contact me on my website.
Okay, lovely. All right, well, thank you, John, for joining me, for your time, your words and thoughts. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Feel free to let John and I know what you think of this conversation in the comments. I encourage you to like this video and share it with any and all pertinent individuals, as it helps the channel in this way, and this way more people can listen to these interviews. Finally, I invite you to subscribe to my audiovisual channel because I have more conversations scheduled. If you want to support John, myself, this podcast, or all three, the links will be in the show notes. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you next time. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.